I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. We don't know how to say this guy's name, but we're going to review his album anyway. His name is Damien Jurado. We actually spent a good like 10 to 15 minutes searching YouTube for videos that would just, interviews that would just show us how to say Damien Jurado's name. We're going with Jurado. Jurado? We don't know. Jurado. I'm screwed. I don't know how to say it, but that's what I'm going to go with from here on out.
Yeah,
really though, in our 15-minute search, all the videos would just start in medias res. They wouldn't actually introduce him.
It's like they were trying to avoid it.
They were trying to avoid it, and here we are, these two chumps from Iowa who have to just go, oh yeah, this is what, here's his name. Anyways, his new album, his 11th studio album, Brothers and Sisters of the Eternal Sun. Damien is a singer-songwriter from the Seattle area, and quite honestly, until we got a request for this record, I had never heard of Damien Jurado's album before, or any of his work. So this was actually a really fun experience for me because, you know, I kind of like the kind of indie singer-songwriter feel. I'm into those sort of albums, so I was pretty excited when I first put this on and heard the opening track, Magic Number. But before we get into that, I would like Tom to give us his take on what Brothers and Sisters of the Eternal Sun sounded like to him.
Well, to me, you know, right away, I felt like it was all about mood and rhythm.
Yes.
Which is really interesting because typically, if an album focuses on rhythm, then I feel like it's, you know, it's more about the beat, it's more about movement, and it's a little harder to establish that mood.
Yeah.
But the way that Damien does it on this record is through the production. Because you have percussion all over the place. You have very moving drums. You have, you know, some shakers, tambourines, a lot of auxiliary percussion.
Bongos.
And they really drive the beat.
There's usually multiple tracks in the mix of percussive elements.
Oh yeah, very much so. Not just your typical like rock drum kit, right? You know, a lot going on there. But a lot of the times it's not It's interesting because the production is good. It's nice and crisp, but not sharp. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like when a snare drum hits, it's not like it's gonna make your ears bleed.
It has that good like raw live venue, small live venue.
It has a room sound. It has some spatial elements to it, and it sounds just really nice and rich. And it's odd because it's kind of soothing, but it keeps the song moving at the same time.
And there's a lot of guitar throughout this album. There's a lot of use of acoustic guitar in that traditional singer-songwriter sense, especially in the latter half of the record. But really, I mean, these are pretty lush compositions. You have a lot of bass, a lot of strings, a lot of subtle electronic melodies and textures that he puts in there to fill out the sound. He also, you know, he has a relatively, I'd say, baritone voice, but he goes up into that falsetto a lot.
Yeah, he does.
And there's a lot of vocal layers throughout most of the mix, and I think that, you know, that's one of the things that really gives it that space you were talking about, and I think that's absolutely key here. Is that what Damien is doing is he's creating this moody space, and he brings you into it and sits you down in the front row of this tiny little amphitheater, and he says, "Listen to what I have to say. I have something to say, and you should listen to it." And I actually think that artists who have that songwriting prowess to do that, to bring you into their album and say you are participating in this. You are not just a happenstance passerby. Like I think that's like a crazy talent. So the fact that I noticed that right off the bat that he was able to do that. I mean, within the first few tracks, Magic Number, Silver Timothy, and Return to Maricopa, which is the title. Maricopa was one of his previous albums. From the research I did, I have not listened to it. But you know, like those three tracks right in a row. I mean, set the stage on different moods. Different like instrumental palettes that he's playing with, and I think that it's just a great way to open the record.
Yeah, he creates these kind of swirling soundscapes. It almost reminds me of the Beatles track "Tomorrow Never Knows."
That's a great.
It's kind of a good parallel because that song also focuses on rhythm, but is all about mood. It closes out Revolver famously, and it's funny because he kind of starts the album with that kind of sound, but then as you get more into it, you do get some more kind of simplified. Just acoustic tracks like Silver Joy, the second to last track, really great just acoustic guitar and vocals track. some other little things going on, but for one point in the album, the rhythm's not the focus.
Right.
The focus is a little bit more on melody.
And I think that track, as the second to last track on the album, really hit the spot. I mean, it's very clear when you listen to this record that Damien really sculpted it from beginning to end to be a cohesive listening experience. There's 4 tracks in the row that start with the title Silver. Silver, it goes Silver Donna, it's Silver name. So Silver Donna, Silver Malcolm, Silver Catherine, and Silver Joy. Silver Joy is the one you were just talking about. I really like Silver Catherine. It starts off with that acoustic lead, has just a great chorus with the vocal melodies he presents there. Kind of reminds me of the Radiohead's B-side off of the Hail to the Thief era, Gagging Order.
I totally agree with you on that.
And that's not a bad thing, because I love that song.
That's one of my favorite Radiohead songs.
Right. Honestly. I mean, it's a great song, and so the way, and I don't think he was intending for that to happen, but it's just a coincidence and a good one. So for that matter, I mean, he's really able to write really powerful songs, I think.
And I think that this is an album that it's very unique. You can tell some little influences and whatnot, but I mean, this guy's been at it for about 20 years. He's been able to develop his own sound, do his own thing. I do hear a little bit of Neil Young at times.
Me too.
In the vocals and just kind of the melody construction.
Neil Young, especially in the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young albums, like I definitely hear that. Although I would say I think his compositions are a little bit more, aggressive and intense even they're more lush than anything that Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young used to. That was more jam band feel where this gets there's a little jam band-esseness here, but it's not full out. You never has that feel. Everything feels very specific and intended, and that's something I really like.
And he also, I think he had a good tact in keeping the album short. It's like 34 minutes, and while there's nothing bad, it's not like it would have been bad for it to be 40 minutes, but I think that he very aptly accomplishes what he set out to do.
Right.
It didn't need any more.
No, it feels like it's the perfect length.
It does, and really there's only one track over 6 minutes. Most of them average around 3, and that's Silver Donna, which is a good track, has some good kind of moving bass. The bass really helps move things along with the percussion, that whole rhythm section vibe. So I just think that this was a really tactfully done album. Now I will say, I listened to this several times, and I never really felt like it was the kind of album that sucked me back in. I always enjoyed it while I was listening to it, and the more I listened to it, the more I could find pieces. I was like, wow, I love the way he's composing this. I love the way he's worked out this melody there, or the production. All those aspects were really good. There were a few tracks kind of in the middle to the end that I wasn't overly keen on, but I didn't think they were bad. But overall, it was kind of one of those, I really like this, but I don't love it.
All right. And there is something there. I think it's just his focus on creating that musical soundscape and that taking you to a place that actually distracts from creating that killer track that makes you come back to the album. And one thing that we've said, we've reviewed over 750 albums on this channel. We have just figured out that you and I, to love an album, there has to be at least one killer track on it that just hooks us and sells us on the whole record. And quite frankly, I can't pick one of those tracks on this record and say this does that for us. So, and I totally agree with you. And I think that while this is a really good album, it's not one of the best caliber of the year, but I would definitely highly recommend it to pretty much anybody, especially if you're into this singer-songwriter vibe. So, Tom, what are you going to give this?
I'm going to give this an even 80.
I'm going to go 82. So that's an 81 from Velocities of Music. As I said, that's any mark in the 80s is usually a stamp of approval from us, and we want you guys to go out, listen to Brothers and Sisters of the Eternal Sun, and give us your feedback. What did you think of this record? At www.velocitiesofmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesofmusic. As always, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and let us know what records you'd like to see us review on this channel. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.